Welcome to the channel. My name's Joshua. This is Knox Studios, and we're going to start day one. January 2024 Pranayama, breath of yoga. I'll be referring through this as Gregor Maile. I'm not even sure how to say his name, but I've had this book for a while and I need to resurface it. Going here through the end of 2023. If you've been a part of this channel and seen it, that's great. Definitely encourage you to link in and check in on some of those meditation practices. The thing that brought to my attention and practice throughout 2023 was in solfeggio frequencies. However, starting 2024, I have to realize that growth is definitely where it's at, and although I'll maintain some sort of practice of those extended long sits with solfeggio frequencies as a part of my own practice. And of course, if you're interested in doing so, let me know in the comments. Get you invited to the long sit meditation room. I'll do those on Zoom as I set up a schedule here going into the year. However, I really need to start focusing more back on the basics and the fundamentals of meditation. And there's a lot of philosophies out there, none of which are necessarily wrong. Each author I come across tends to just more lean in on different verbiage from different perspectives, different cultures, but they all ultimately kind of start to culminate, right? Start to tingle the senses on top of each other. So no matter what religious background that you have, I understand that there's a lot of resistance to Eastern philosophies and the way that the language comes out in Sanskrits, and just verbiage in and of itself can really trigger some people's perspective. But I do aim, of course, to help guide through and with an open mind into some of these philosophies and practices, so that we can have more of a grounding, beginning to 2024, and really combining with that root energy that keeps me defined and my stability and where I'm at today. And these will be recorded for a while. I've had to move away from some of the live feeds in order that my internet connection doesn't get disconnected. And so for a time, I imagine I'll just have to be doing these on a recorded basis. But thank you for those that did start to participate in the live sessions. I really enjoyed doing those myself. I also have an article pulled up from isha.sadhguru.org. So Sadhguru is, he's a philosopher that has a lot of extended knowledge and practice, obviously leading a lot of people toward enlightenment. And by what way? Of course, through Buddhist traditions, it's the observing of self, and then just understanding that the better that I know myself, the better that I begin to understand the world around me. To start from the beginning here, though, in Pranayama, the breath of yoga, it basically outlines that Pranayama is a compound noun making up of two syllables, prana and yama. Prana Ayama, perhaps, which even then, as translations often do, throws people to the curb. So prana, breath, life force, energy. What do we do, whether we like it or not? Constricted or open, we're always breathing. There's the tendency in that breath. We'll take a quick dive into prana real quick. Prana can be defined also astrologically as a cardinal breath, a fixed breath, and a mutable breath. So those become the cardinal breath in. They take in energies. They build within that energies of others. The fixed breath here at the top, holding, kind of more stubborn. they don't necessarily want to let go all the time. They get very fixed on the ideas. And then the mutable breath. The mutable breath that gives and gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. And then to, again, another fixed energy here at the bottom, being completely void, but intolerant of accepting new energies. So, breath work and the way that we change the way that we breathe also then translates to the way that we might be capable of changing our experience in life. And then secondarily, Ayama, meaning extension, the extension of that life force energy. To what spheres of influence that breath might translate into, the way that we affect others in the universe. And also how, and like with that cardinal energy, with just like the taking in of other people's energies, the manipulation that can occur naturally as a result of just taking, instead of really becoming aware that that breath, that life that they're putting out there ain't all that great. It looks great, but it isn't experientially. And then the mutable energy also, like when we get filled up with that negative cardinal energy of sorts, now we're giving it away. Now that's where we have to grow in our awareness. So breaking out of the fixed prana, taking acknowledgement and accountability for the prana we allow in, cardinal, and then therefore the energy that we let out and educate others with. Which is why I'm going to try to do my best, of course, in kind of coming out of books that I've already gone through and read to certain degrees. I may not understand them fully, but I'll be citing from the literature. And I do hope that this helps build a greater understanding. But here within the definition of pranayama, the life force energy and the extension of that energy into the world, into the universe, this is imperative for us to understand. It's like in the yogic traditions and the way that we perceive yoga today, unfortunately, we see it more from a posture standpoint, which actually has nothing to do with pranayama. It has nothing to do with the breath. The visual illustration of what we see in yoga is that of asana. And asana essentially just means our posture. Sitting up straight, leaning back, crouched, hunching shoulders. And then like maybe we're in that lotus position like this. Sitting here, back stretched, head down, hands on our knees. Perfect posture. Well, breath is actually more from the internal, the way that the breath is inside of the life, not the posture itself. The only most important part of the asana is the alignment of the spine. So that, of course, essentially, as this is a practice, as yoga is, we're leaning in toward kundalini experiences, the alignment of our chakra centers, so that we can have life experiences and guide us back to our roots, root out the things that don't serve us anymore, so that we can utilize this creative energy and let it go, let it flow more abundantly, more clearly into the ether, up here into the throat, so that we can begin to become aware of things that we otherwise haven't been. Our unconscious mind, the Carl Jung, modality is introduction of, there's a personal unconscious, but then the global unconscious, the distinction of the things that very few know, that keep the majority in darkness. And so we, moving through this process, hopefully will encompass, one, a greater experience and happiness and joy of life, but then ultimately become aware, and this is the goal. within our third eye and our awareness of how the universe actually is and how we are actually within this universe. How to best engage with it, utilizing our skills and our balance, our nature, our nurturing. So we can nurture others and become more loving and caring and compassionate in practice. So pranayama, just to review really quick, is defined by prana, the breath within, ayama, which is the extension of that breath and in which area it becomes fixated or utilized. Opposite of, although oftentimes confused with, asana, which is the posture. So our posture of yoga is only half of the battle. Learning how to breathe in order to achieve some of these postures becomes the art of it all. I'm going to skip over here to screen share a bit here. And again, this is from the ishasadguru.org. This is an article called Pranayama Benefit Types. So it basically outlines again what we've gone over with whatever you do in life, how your body, your mind, and your whole systems function is ultimately determined by your prana, the intelligent energy, that breath. The energy that's just, whether we're conscious of it or not, it's as a result, the way that we breathe is based on the way that we're experiencing life. And then we're talking about karma. So this karmic memory, the things that we've done in our past and even the things that aren't necessarily already being actuated by a result of karmic activity, that becomes imprinted here in our prana. The things that we're holding ourselves accountable to or have not yet been set free of. So since prana has this karmic memory of the individual printed on it, it functions in each person in a unique manner. By contrast, electricity does not have memory or intelligence. It can light up a light bulb, run a camera, and do a million other things, not because it's intelligence, but because of the particular device it powers. So breath, there's a modality here, okay? The electricity. It's going to power it no matter what. It's in what way that it becomes able to power it that matters more. And then a little bit of projection here, but in the future there may be a smart electricity too, and if you manage to imprint energy with a certain memory, you can make it behave in a certain way. So there is my own suspect of the world and the universe, that there's a lot of technology out there today, and in what ways we are becoming calibrated to the social norms of today, as opposed to like really being allowed the internal savvy and intelligence of our own life force to really begin to experience life from that creative, natural place. A great reference to this is Sir Ken Robinson, I believe, who did his TED Talk, his original TED Talk on creativity and how the education system really stifles that. And like the unlearning process becomes more important in the process of coming back to our roots, becoming back to our happiness and our joy, like the experience of life. Because culture itself can tap in and just distract, teach us things that we aren't necessarily understanding, or at least present them in such a confusion-based arena that it's almost just unintelligible. Here, though, we'll move toward the 5 types of prana. And I understand that sometimes, like some of these words, they become a little bit more confusing in and of itself, too. This is just kind of a matter of practice. As I move through this book, I do my best to highlight just words with their meanings so that I can also, even myself, relearn these basic definitions as we come across them. But it says, there are 5 basic manifestations of prana in the body. And it says Pancha Vayus, which that's a Prana Vayu, so life force Vayu, Samana Vayu, Udana Vayu, Apana Vayu, and Vyana Vayu, direct different aspects of the human mechanism. So through yogic practices like the Shakti Shalana Kriya, you can take charge of the Pancha Vayus, these different Vayus. And if you gain mastery over these 5 Vayus, you will be free from most ailments, particularly psychological ones. This behavioral conditioning that's now manifest in the universe to mental illness, for example, it's my definition. The things in which a doctor comes in and they want to present you with a long-term solution to what could be just a short-term situation within the reason. And now I am no doctor, and I'm not in any regard capable of, backing up these claims, but from my own experience, as I've definitely been, approached with, recommendations to take medications from time, I have had to resort to saying no to doctors when it came to long-term use. Because I believe, this is just from me, my standpoint, that everything is happening for a season. Nothing ever happens lasts forever. But the more that I allow certain things to enter my brain, the way that I think and accept things, the more that I become encumbered by that, substance, whatever it is, to balance it. As opposed to what this is talking about, the mastery of these 5 Vayus, the ability then to breathe through my life and become free of things. Most of the time, in my experience, it's also come from getting rid of things instead of adding things to the dock. If I choose to keep all the things that I have in this world, and I have chosen to keep smoking cigarettes, to keep drinking alcohol, to keep behaving the way that I was out in the world, the way that I operated within my personal, relationships and so on and so forth. If I were to retain that, I would probably definitely need constant treatment to offset those. However, when I take accountability for those things and make actual transformational change in my life as a result of this work, whether that be meditation, reading, just spiritual acumen, leaning into something different, something new, by this way, now I can get rid of that necessity of being seduced by pharmaceuticals. Anyhow, I might be off the page there. I apologize, but nonetheless, it says, unless we act now, in the next 50 years, the number of people who are psychologically imbalanced, disturbed, or deranged will increase many times over due to various factors in our lifestyles. We are handling many aspects of our lives in grossly negligent way, for which we are going to pay the price. If you take charge of your prana, your life force, your breath, whatever the external situation may be, you will remain psychologically balanced. And right now, a whole lot of people are psychologically imbalanced, though not everyone may have a medical diagnosis. And this is what I'm really talking about here. I hadn't even read that yet, but that's this inclination to understand, from my own experience, that whenever I lean back into the substances of the world, the bad behaviors, those tendencies, the character flaw that has been cultivated in me by cultural norms and, offsetting principles from various lands and ways, whether it be television, magazine articles, news, that distracts from the experience that I can have otherwise, which is right here, right now, in this moment, right here. So we're here now to understand what is the benefit Well, pranayama benefits say that suppose your hand does its own thing and pokes you in the eye, scratches and beats you. That is a sickness. If I keep doing something, let go of my willpower. All right, hand, do your thing. You start poking me. That's just ridiculous. Why would I keep doing that? And it's not necessarily about control. We need to be able to let go, but when it comes to our mind does run rampant. It runs in its own direction. Even now, today, as I meditate and first moments, I really have to clear that out. This is why it's imperative that taking that time to really center ourselves and focus in on our breath in a meditative practice is paramount. It simplifies the mind. So this is what most people's mind is doing. Every day it pokes them from inside, makes them cry, bawl, or worry. In so many ways it creates suffering for them. That means it is sick, even if in a socially accepted manner. Every kind of suffering that human beings are going through day in and day out is created in the mind. Mental. It's all mental. My attitude towards life is all mental. The way that I perceive the world is all mental. And holding on to those attitudes is going to keep me sick. So furthermore goes that the sickness is set in and it will multiply because of the social structures, the technology around us, and various other influences. So, one who takes charge of one's prana can be 100% assured to have unshakably psychological balance. This is the promise of becoming more aware of our breath, of meditation in its basic element. The promise, no matter what, 100% assured, here by Sadhguru, unshakable psychological balance when we master our breath. Without that, what is it going on? We're either out of balance because we're still allowing some doctor to prescribe us a medication. We're still leaning into some substance of some sort. Our mental is just completely robbing ourselves of a truly balanced life. So this should also prevent physiological ailments to a large extent, though an element of risk does remain due to various reasons, including infections and all kinds of chemical and poisons that we are exposed to on a daily basis. So there is the aside, of course, that like in the event that we are exposed to other certain things from our past and so on, that there might be some conditions that aren't coming back from because they've been a cause of some previous exposures. However, preventing further new infections to really take over, I believe, is the key point here. There's no absolute control over what we take in through the air, water, and food, no matter how careful we are about what we consume. How much impact this has on us depends on each individual. Says physiological health cannot be guaranteed 100% for external reasons, but psychological well-being can be 100% guaranteed if you take charge of your prana. 100%. Psychological well-being. So if you're psychologically in an extremely good place, a few physiological issues will not be a problem. Most of the time, minor bodily conditions are less of an issue than the reactions to them that happen in your mind. How the pranas function within you, how they transact with the rest of the universe, how they enter a newborn, and how they leave the dead, all clearly show they have an intelligence of their own. So, I'm going to kind of stop it there for the day, as we kind of will need to move toward the working with our prana, how to utilize this energy force, and maybe some different practices to move through where our energies really lie. But for day one here, entering 2024, I just want this to be more of an educational variety so we can move through some of the basic definitions to start the year related to our breath. And then how this obviously then begins to correlate to our health. How the thinking mind in relationship to our passionate selves, the heart, being led by our heart, really can instead find this balance between those two and cultivate the opportunity to become purposeful and utilize our meditations more from a more personal and intentional space for ourselves. And not just because I led you down this path. These meditations on the channel here in the last part of 2023, those are my personal, experiences with each frequency. But within each one, as I resonate within that frequency, within that focused intention, finding new ways to breathe, finding new ways to open myself up, finding new, deeper, more meaningful understandings of myself and the relationship I have within what is the universal consciousness. That prior to ever having practiced meditation or utilizing my prana, opening up my asana, aligning and balancing my asana, my body posture, that's where the resistance, the reluctance, the inability, essentially, to be an authentic human being and share something from my experience, that's where the suffering is. It's not so much that I am 100% void of experiencing pain in this world or having some infections and disease to be able to be cultivated, but it certainly shall allow me the opportunity to become mentally keen and aware of at least where I'm at any given moment. Should I give myself the pause and the opportunity to think first before I just become unconsciously reactive. I can't believe you said that. Punch him in the face. Well, that's not very constructive. Perhaps God had intended, or the universe rather, had intended for that cutting verbal exchange and argument, not for me to be reactive and punch him in the face, but learn something from it. To get to a place where I'm not holding the person that did this to me accountable, but rather becoming more aware of they're experiencing something that I'm not capable of helping them with. I gotta let go. Let the universe handle them so that they can also learn to cultivate something a little bit better when they experience this opportunity in the future. And if anything, just learn how to take my accountability to the things that I fall short of. Only me, the things within. But I can definitely attest that the way in which I've been able to breathe, especially in the last 2 years and a bit, like from getting rid of cigarettes and nicotine from my life, has really allowed me the actual experience of opening up my throat chakra to become capable of even sharing this lesson today. And as uncomfortable and daunting as it seems to go through a year of 2024, holding myself accountable for sharing something of a lesson on a regular enough basis that it also benefits me and others, is not where I need to be right now. What I need to be is right here, right now, sharing what I can. So if you do find anything here valuable, as it states here on the sidebar, and would like more information, please leave a comment. Where is it? Right here. Right here. And remember that right below there, never again hate anything. That's what we're here for. To learn how to love and get rid of this absurd notion that we have control over anything. So thank you for your support. Stay tuned. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.